Atheist Nomads, episode 282, The War on Christmas 2018.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to the episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me is Lauren.
His jolly little elf, Lauren.
And we have Erin back.
Hello.
And
nobody else going to do the theme, huh? Just going to be the jolly elf, Lauren.
What's the theme?
Christmas.
God. I was waiting.
You're the log. You're the log that's on fire.
Wait, does that make me Santa?
That makes you, I don't know, reindeer turds.
Are you trying to say that since I said I was a dumpster fire like 5 times last time, that now I'm just the log that's on fire?
You're the Yule log
that's
on fire, which is also a delicious cake.
Right.
Oh, man.
Spongy.
So if you're expecting dark and depressing, there will be less of that this week.
Yes. So that was the whole thing. I actually did not know what the episode was titled. So when I went out to coffee earlier, I was saying that I was going to be on the podcast again and how I always get these really depressing, really sad children's stories.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Children die all the time.
And so I was like, I mean, gosh darn it, why can't I just have a war on Christmas? And then I got here and I was like, wow, I should have read those show notes.
You know, he sends those out for a reason. None of us ever read them.
So Erin, you don't listen to the show. You don't read. You don't do the preparation.
But I am one hell of a fucking guest, though.
But you're available, so that's something.
I can't. Okay, the thing
that
is,
was below the belt there, buddy.
You know what? It's cool. You roast me, Dustin. Whatever.
She's got this. She's on fire.
Yeah, I shared the episode. Somebody totally listened to it last time and pointed out that I said dumpster fire several times.
That is hilarious.
But listen, I am single in my 30s.
Yes.
So my life is interesting.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
So this episode's going to be the war on. You said the title is the war on Christmas, but that's not correct.
No,
it?
This is actually the war on the war on the war on Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. So we got the war on Christmas, which is a supposed conspiracy for secularists to destroy Christmas.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Then we got the war on Christmas, which is Christians trying to take back the religiosity of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
There's the war on Christmas, which is the secularists saying, cut it the fuck out. Christmas is a holiday season for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
Right.
Yep.
Well, isn't Christmas a pagan holiday anyway? Because I just have to say this because my very religious sister has now for a few years not celebrated Christmas because of the fact that it's a pagan holiday.
That is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for the Dustin Off the Degree, we're going to talk about is Christmas a Christian holiday?
You'll have to have her listen to the show.
I grew up.
No. Oh
gosh, no. She'd be like, Erin, you hurt my ears with all those fucks.
Oh my God. It's the Christmas time. It is time for family drama. Let's play it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Oh, and okay, so this episode is a week before Christmas. We have an episode coming out on Christmas Day. Christmas will not be mentioned on that episode.
Oh, really?
It's
because
not at all.
Most people will not be listening to it on Christmas.
Yeah.
And most of those who will be so fucking fed up with it that the last thing they're going to want to hear is Christmas. Right. So now we're going to shove it down your throat.
Shove it.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
I need a soundboard.
No. Please. This is I don't like to talk ill about other podcasts, but there is another podcast locally and they're wonderful guys, but oh gosh.
Soundboard a bit heavy.
Yep.
A little heavy-handed on the soundboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll just do it myself. Boop, boop, boop.
Okay, so I grew up with Christmas as basically a secular holiday. I was raised in a pretty devout Adventist home. Adventist church services on Christmas Day during most of my growing up were just the least attended church service of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Unlike every other church.
Right, because
unlike those Catholics that are like, oh shit, we need to go to church at least once this year.
Adventists historically have rejected Christmas as a Christian holiday because they identify it as a pagan holiday that was Christianized by Catholics.
Right.
And as part of the
who are the devil
uncatholicizing of Christianity, getting rid of Christmas and Easter was a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to the extent that Jehovah's Witnesses go, where they like forbid celebrating any holidays, including Christmas and Easter.
Right.
Adventists just go with, nah. That started to change in the last 15, 20 years, but it was very... Wait, 15, 20? Yeah, 15, 20.
You have to check your own age and say,
How old am I?
Crap, I'm in my 30s now, not my 20s.
Okay, so at least in the last 25 years, it has been shifting.
Yeah.
So since I was about 10. And it's gotten more and more notice, and it started with the more liberal churches, and it's moved into the more conservative churches maybe by now. But if you look at the history on it, Christ was celebrated every week. And in the early church, you would have every Friday, there would be a service Friday night bringing in the Sabbath. You'd then have a fast over the course of the Sabbath because Christ was crucified on Friday. He was dead on Saturday. And then you'd celebrate the resurrection on Sunday. And they did that every week. Easter wasn't a thing because they did it every single week. Christmas wasn't a big deal because the stories don't even make sense and they don't provide any context. You compare the two stories, you can't even figure out what decade it was that he was born. And they don't tell you time of year.
I'm pretty sure it was 0 AD. No, 30 BC.
Either 5 BC or 6 AD. You can pick.
Okay.
There was the problem as Christianity was when it was becoming more mainstream.
Right.
There was the issue of people like holidays.
Yeah.
They especially like holidays at the equinoxes and solstices.
Right. Because it's so goddamn dreary out.
Well, also because it splits up the year into perfect little fourths.
And so you have to have some kind of a holiday at the winter solstice. It's like not even optional. Unless you're like a real Scrooge.
Or Grinch.
Or Grinch, yeah. That works too. And so the Romans had Saturnalia, the Germanic peoples had Yule, and the Germanic peoples in that time period were just the barbarians who weren't Celts.
Everybody else.
The Celts were the barbarians before the Germans were the barbarians. And they had Yule. And Yule and Saturnalia
You'll all love it.
helped keep people in with at least one foot in the pagan traditions.
Right.
And so Christianity took a look at it. Oh, and the third group they were trying to outcompete was Mithraism, which had the bull god dying on the solstice, the winter solstice, when the sun is at its lowest, and being reborn on December 25, a few days after.
Do you know what I find impressive? Dustin has no notes on this. He is just straight
spouting it.
Straight talk. This is amazing. This is what's going through my head. I mean, I'm listening to you, Dustin, but I'm also like, wow.
How does he know this shit?
Holy fuck.
It's like he got a degree in it or something.
Oh my gosh.
And so then they took a look at these holidays, and they were all around the same time period, and the only one that had really the more specific of a date was Mithraism on the 25th. So they decided, okay, we're going to have a mass for Christ celebrating his birth on the day that Mithra's born, December 25.
That'll trick those barbarians into worshiping us.
It worked.
Yeah, it did.
Like hell it
Christmas
did.
supplanted...
Now we're war on Christmas.
Christmas supplanted Yule. It supplanted Saturnalia. Mithraism got absorbed into Christianity, and it helped take care of that. And we're talking 400 or 500 CE by the time this was really getting going, Christmas was. And, okay, you look at how it was celebrated in the more imperial parts of Rome, it looked a lot like Saturnalia.
Right.
With the 12 days of Christmas and gift giving and feasts.
Food.
And further north in the Germanic areas, it looked a lot like Yule with evergreens and fire and candles and feasts.
Yeah.
Yay!
You mean food was at everything?
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Feasts were always a part of it.
Because
we're not
gosh,
starving, guys.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. January rolled around and lost a few, but it was worth it.
But
That
they
feast.
got absorbed in, and the celebrations continued, but they had a new name,
Mhm.
and they were in Christ's honor instead of Thor. Yule, or was Yule a
Odin.
god?
What?
Yeah,
No.
Odin. Yeah, Odin.
Did you
was
say
the
was
main
a
one.
Yule log a god?
No, it was Yule a god.
Oh,
No, but
Was that Yule log a
Odin
god?
and Saturn for Saturnalia, and
Yeah.
that's basically how Christmas was throughout the Middle Ages. And it was with the Reformation and Counter-Reformation where it started getting more starting to look more modern.
hmm
Martin Luther actually made some major efforts to make like the Christmas tree a Christian thing instead of just being a German pagan thing.
right.
And up until that time period, most Europeans were still pagans.
Right.
Pagan literally and heathen both just mean country folk, because the country folk had never been converted
Yeah.
and usually never even had a priest come into their area that spoke their language, let alone would actually teach anything in their language.
Right.
By the time you get to America and the colonies and the US, Christmas was not much of a big deal. Like the Puritans didn't really do Christmas. The Church of England did, but it was kind of a minor thing.
hmm
Unitarians wouldn't have cared about it because they'd come from the Puritans.
Thanks for dropping that.
The U-bomb.
Uh-huh.
Woo! My mom just went to the pageant today.
Oh,
Sorry.
nice.
And she was like, "Do you want to go?" And
Did
I
they
was
do,
like,
did they
"No,
do
thanks."
the whole St. Lucia entrance
I
still?
don't fucking know.
Okay.
But apparently she was like, "You would have hated it. There was a lot of different different songs from different countries."
Yeah, then they did.
And
still remember
I just
that.
want to let everyone know, it's not that I'm prejudiced against different songs from different countries. It's that it makes me incredibly uncomfortable when middle-aged, middle-class white people start singing them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it feel a little co-opted.
Gotta love the Kwanzaa celebration
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
Idaho
Oh.
UU. It's fun.
It makes my skin crawl.
Okay. Idaho's already white. You add UU onto it.
Yep. White.
I love their
Oh,
social
so white.
justice. It is amazing. I mean, the Reverend Sarah just went to the border in San Diego and got arrested and has been on national news. It is wonderful. They're fighting the good fight at the Capitol, doing all this stuff. I just can't stand going to services and then being like, "Hey, this is an old African slave song that we're going to sing for the month of February."
Yep.
That's what makes me a little bit like,
Yeah.
why?
And carrying on this tangent though, if it wasn't for that, I would not. I was the only kid in my high school who even knew what Kwanzaa was.
Right, and that's the same thing
So
with me
there's
too.
something there.
Yeah, it's true. There was a lot of
Educational-wise?
exploration of religions, which I love. I just,
But owning it,
yeah,
you can't do that.
no.
It's not yours.
Anyway, moving on.
So then
Back to that fire.
1800s in the US and in England as well, modern Christmas was starting to develop.
Are we talking in like Industrial Revolution times?
Yes.
We're talking
we are.
Industrial Revolution, mass printing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Of
Commercialism beginning to
commercialized
be a
Christmas
thing.
cards was
Yeah.
huge.
And you started to get these
It was huge.
themes that kept being incorporated. And so you got Santa, St. Nicholas,
Mm-hmm.
with the red and white, which is taken from Odin. You got elves. You got polar bears, which is weird.
Because they're fucking adorable. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, I should.
Well, and the North Pole, reindeer, the tree, the lights.
Yeah,
the turkey.
The tree was a big one.
I mean, was Coca-Cola a thing? That might have been a polar bear.
That was a little later.
That's actually a urban legend that Coca-Cola created basically created modern Christmas.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola and Hallmark didn't. They helped solidify it, though.
Yeah, for sure.
But red and white does
I'm a
not.
Pepsi girl all the way.
Oh, gosh. Let's fight it out.
All right.
Red and white does not have its origins in Coca-Cola's colors.
Right.
Hold on, I got to
That was
soundboard
just
that.
convenient.
Ding! Let's fight. All right.
Christmas wasn't a federal holiday until late 20th or late 19th century. Some states had it as a holiday. States with larger percentages of Catholics in particular.
Was it a union thing?
No.
That I could see that being a union demand of having Christmas off.
Pre-union.
With a cooked goose for everyone.
Boiled goose.
Yeah, Kylie does not like that.
But by the time it became a holiday, like actually was a holiday in the US, it was a commercial secular creation that happened to take place on the same day that the Catholics were having their Mass for Christ. Happened to have the same name.
Well, it not happened to have.
It had the same
named
name.
after.
And yeah, Jesus was a part of it. The Nativity was a part of it, but no more a part of it than a 700-year-old or 1,700-year-old fat white guy with a beard living on the North Pole.
Right. Which I now hear is about to become hipster with tight pants and maybe a lady.
Oh.
There's some rebranding of Santa going on.
That's stupid. But Finland is claiming that Lapland is the official home of Santa now, and they are doing a huge tourism thing to try and get people to visit Lapland.
I mean, if it's like real inexpensive to get there,
They do have a whole lot of reindeer there.
Cool.
Sami, man, those guys are awesome.
Now, I wonder what Alaska's going to think of that.
I don't know. They're going to have to bing, duke it out.
I love your soundboard.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
You couldn't stop it, Dustin. You couldn't stop the soundboard as long as I have a voice.
That I can edit out.
Oh, son of a bitch.
We forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
But so, Christmas, is it Christian? Nah.
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Nominally.
Maybe.
it's debatable.
If you want it to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you ask for Catholics, it is. With
For
the
sure.
Advent season, actually going to church.
Way to put a minimum effort there, Catholics. Way to
Yeah.
go. See it
I
at
just-
Easter.
Just say that every time you say Advent, this is where my mind goes. Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Chocolate
I know.
or cheese or wine. There's so many Advent calendars
Oh my
now.
God.
It's
There's beer.
amazing.
There's scotch. Okay.
Oh.
So little mini story here. When when we were first going together, you know,
Going steady.
and I looked everywhere for chocolate Advent calendars, but it was seriously like the day before.
there's-
It was like the day before December 1st. So I
Right.
couldn't find any.
They're
I
hard.
looked everywhere, and Dustin's all like, I don't really like Advent. It's so Catholic. I'm like, it's about chocolate, sir. It is about
Right.
not fine German chocolate being sold by middle schoolers to raise funds for marching band or
And-
German club.
You have to be very careful about your Advent calendars because some of the chocolate is disgusting.
Yeah,
Oh.
it is. Or they have shapes that make no sense.
Right.
That one looks kind of like a lumpy penis
Yeah.
that I think it was a stocking.
That's
but
why I'm like, anybody out there, whoever wants to give me an Advent calendar next year, cheese is great.
Trader Joe's has some good ones.
Oh, really?
Last year, Waiting for Wrath did a German beer advent calendar that somebody sent them. Most of the beers were disgusting.
Yeah, undrinkable. But my mom gave us one. It's one that has little doors that you can open, and it's
Yeah.
empty, so I could fill it with whatever I want every year.
Nice.
They're tiny little boxes. But
Yeah.
But yeah, Christmas, if you want it to be Christian, it's Christian. If you want it to be secular, it's secular.
Right.
It's a holiday that is anything. It is what it is to you.
Right. It's something different to everybody. Like for me, it just means getting together with family,
And
eating a lot of
cheese.
food, having our
Especially
traditions. Yes, having our traditions and cheese. And then, having my dad say fuck you because he's so exasperated with me. That would be a just for me thing. Not any other child.
Okay.
Wow.
I can't wait till my mom listens to this like 6 months later and she's like, why do you gotta air all your dirty laundry?
That's because Festivus is coming up and it's the airing of grievances.
I'm airing of grievances. Yes.
Airing of grievances. Oh my God.
It's my new holiday
There we
tradition.
Dealing.
Okay, so
Soundboard.
our first volley in the war on Christmas this year is that it's not a fucking Christian holiday
Right.
anymore.
Right.
If it ever was.
Oh, goodness.
Or as I really like to put it, what we have now is the commercialized version of a secularized version of the Christianized version of numerous pagan holidays. The town of Dover, Ohio, has Christmas different than usual this year.
Oh.
Yeah. See, back in January, they got a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation after a local resident informed them about the town's Christmas display, which included a very large Latin cross.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the mayor's response to that is, we have the freedom of religion, and they're saying we're endorsing one religion. He also said, yeah, they have a point, but it's been that way for eons, so just leave us alone.
So we're talking like they put a cross out on their government building?
Yeah.
Out in front of City Hall.
Oh.
So after 27 years of this guy being mayor, with this happening every year he's been mayor, and he never imagined this could happen, they did decide that rather than go to court, they need to actually obey the law. So they moved the cross in the display next door to a church.
There you go.
Well, there. Oh, perfect.
Solved. I have no problem with that.
Problem solved.
So to everybody reasonable, yeah, perfect.
Oh, there were some people who were not reasonable, I feel like is coming up.
You wouldn't know because you didn't read the show notes. Zing.
Listen, I like to be surprised. I can't. I want to be
do.
like
I
on
do
the spot
too.
witty. You know,
I'm not peeking in those presents. I like to.
exactly. I like to be surprised, just like everybody else listening.
Yes.
Does that make sense? We all,
Yeah.
it does make sense.
They're all nodding.
So it appears that Christians in the town have trouble with just having to go next door
Oh,
to walk up to visit the baby Jesus.
Sweet baby plastic Jesus.
wait. At the home of where the baby Jesus should be, they have
Right.
an issue?
They have a problem with going to the church for baby Jesus instead of City Hall.
These people sound fucking unreasonable. This is what happens when I have PBR. Too much caffeine and PBR. The F word is just all over this. Thank goodness there is a warning.
Uh-huh. And Lauren reminded us right before we started recording, but after we opened the PBRs, that we actually have good alcohol.
Right. So
Yeah,
what's going
I'm-
to happen when I get good alcohol?
I'm drinking Irish cream with peppermint schnapps cut with milk.
Girl, you're classy.
Yeah, I am.
In a fancy glass with a gold rim.
Yeah, because I'm making Dustin get rid of half of our alcohol glasses because we
Why do
really
you
do
need
not
them?
need that many pint
Well,
glasses.
we have so many pint glasses and we drink water out of water bottles. So they just sit forever.
Yep, I'm getting rid of mine.
So we have people in Ohio. Let me do my listen firsting here.
Okay.
I was listening. So
I feel
it's
that
like, yeah, is half the town like up in arms about it? Like, oh my gosh, you moved it from this government building to like, what, 10 feet away?
There are people in town, including the mayor and at least one other person, who provided sound bites for Fox 8.
Oh, Fox. What a surprise.
If you want controversy, local Fox channels will always cover it.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, when we had the Treasure Valley Coalition of Reason billboards here on the connector in, right by downtown Boise
that nobody cared about.
and Nampa Boulevard,
Uh-huh.
the Fox station barely covered it
You're right.
because it was barely controversial. Yeah.
What about...
I'm trying to stick a foot in her mouth and she's still just singing.
It's because she's like, that is nonsense, and I'm glad I don't live in Ohio.
So, Now let's talk about Iowa.
The other Ohio.
Not Idaho, Iowa.
I feel like Idaho, Iowa, and Ohio are all mixed up in everybody's minds.
It happens. Ohio is flat and used to have factories. Iowa has corn.
Zing.
Idaho has sugar beets. We also have potatoes, but we have more sugar beets.
No, we have more onions. We're a bigger producer of onions than anything else.
Yep. Onions are, I think it's onions are first, sugar beets are second, corn, potatoes are third.
Yeah.
But our potatoes are of such fine quality that everybody knows us for our potatoes.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska grows more corn than Iowa, but Iowa's known for corn, so yeah.
They don't even have the Corn Palace. That's South Dakota. Oh, sorry, Iowa.
Okay, anyway, Iowa, the flyover state between the rivers. We're the flyover state between the mountains.
I know. It's
so,
okay. You can dish out on other states.
Anyway, they have holiday displays up in their state capital, like many states stupidly do. And American Atheists, through their chapter in Iowa Atheists, actually got a banner up that says, "This season, no matter what you celebrate or why, happy holidays from your atheist neighbors."
That's so nice. And then how many people were like, no,
burn it down? Hopefully
throw it on the Yule log.
Yeah, because it's already conveniently on fire.
This one appears to just be
a happy story.
Oh, good.
Good for you, Iowa.
Oh, would I have known that if I had read the notes?
Maybe. Now, granted, our source on this one is the press release from American Atheists.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, they're going to be, look how triumphant we are.
No, that's so positive.
Now, I could have looked up the Des Moines Fox affiliate and found controversy, but that would be more work than it's worth.
Well, I'm
the
so
comment
excited.
section on their Facebook page.
I think that is just such a nice, and that they were included.
Mm-hmm.
How very lovely.
Okay, so you want rage.
I always want rage.
Illinois State Senator Paul Schmimpf, he is upset that a satanic group is going to be putting up a display next to the nativity scene in their state capital. So much so that he is demanding that the nativity be taken down.
Cool.
So,
do you think maybe that's the point? Satanists were doing that on purpose?
Maybe.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
Especially calling it the Snaketivity.
Yeah.
And being the Satanic Temple.
Because the statue is really cool. This is the one with the hand and the snake wrapping around the hand, right? It's like holding. I believe so, yeah. It's like holding an apple globe thing with the snake wrapping around. Oh, it's awesome. So
I'm confused by how these states are like, well, I mean, maybe it's nice that these states are, or whatever towns are letting everybody be included in these scenes. But I also feel like, hey, why not just let them be out in front of the churches
instead? Yeah.
Well, because the churches already all have their own. This is a
I do have to say one thing.
The mayor usually trying to get reelected.
Living with the state capital, our state capital doesn't have that. So good job, Idaho, for one thing.
Well, Idaho has one of the strongest.
We love to throw away money to
other
stupid lawsuits.
But Idaho has one of the strongest church-state separation laws because of fear of Mormons taking over.
Thanks, Mormons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've only taken over a third of the state.
Nice.
They keep trying to take over the rest, but they've only gotten a third of the state. They're approaching half, but that they're taking over.
Don't we have more Mormons in Utah at this point?
No.
Not even close.
No. Mormon's still 62%, or Utah's still 62% Mormon. Idaho is only 25.
But we do have more cities that have more per capita than Utah.
And we also have more in positions of power.
Right. Oh.
Than maybe not Utah, but than other states.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But anyway, so Illinois, we don't have displays like this in our state capital because our state government doesn't want to waste the effort.
They want to do other things like add the word and LGBT rights. So.
Illinois wants to have a Christmas display, which means unless they want sued, they have to allow everything else.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to allow religious speech in the public sphere, you need to make it an open forum which means all viewpoints are welcome, which includes the Satanic Temple putting in the snaketivity.
Nice.
I cannot shut her up. This is just...
We've gotten feedback that people like it.
Okay.
It's like we're just having a conversation in the living room right now.
Yeah.
That's what Dustin was saying. That I can't take any credit for that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what a listener was suggesting.
Yeah, exactly.
On December 21, so the winter solstice, a Michigan satanic group, which is not yet an affiliate of the Satanic Temple, but they're trying to, will be putting up a haloed goat head in the state capitol.
Aww.
So sweet.
Everybody loves goats, especially if it's a cute little pygmy goat.
It's the Star of Reconciliation display. It was commissioned by the West Michigan Friends of the Satanic Temple, which is replacing the snaketivity that has been put up before. And it is a kind of satanic looking goat head with the two horns sticking up. There's a third like broken crown-like horn coming up out of the middle. It's got a pentagram on its forehead. The ears are sticking straight out to create this star with a ring around it, providing the halo and light behind it. It looks pretty cool.
Cool.
Kylie agrees.
And
she likes goats.
Because Michigan wants to have a nativity in their capital, they get to have this.
Nice.
And what's interesting here is this war on Christmas seems to be a whole lot of we want to join.
Right. We just want to be included.
Facetiously.
Hey, it is what it is. If you're going to have something, then we're going to have something, and we're all just going to be included.
And we're all just going to suffer.
Well, they're going to definitely suffer in Ozark, Missouri.
Well,
they announced in a press release at 1:40 p.m. on December 3 that, and they sent out to 7 different news outlets around the region, that they didn't want to get sued, so they were going to take down the cross display in Findlay River Park that the town controls. Minutes later, okay, maybe hours later, the mayor changed his mind.
Yep, that's not a position that gets you reelected.
He decided that, we need more time to think about this. We need to look at more options. He also said that he'd gotten hundreds of phone calls, texts, and other messages from the community.
Which is exactly what they were wanting with a press release.
Yep.
They set this up so that they could make a big deal out of it.
Everybody wants it up. One lady is crying.
Oh, God.
This is part of Ozark. This is a Christian county, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
That will come back and bite him in the ass in court. All they needed to do was move the giant lit cross from the park to a church.
It's too much, man.
And this is a town that can't even afford to buy new cop cars. All right, we've now upgraded our drinks. So Erin's got Irish cream and peppermint schnapps, and I've got scotch.
We're classy AF.
In Nebraska, there was a principal of, she was over Elkhorn Elementary School, a new principal, and she was trying to do the right thing. She looked at district policy, she looked at the law, and she wanted to make sure that Christmas wasn't going to make non-Christian students uncomfortable. So she sent out a letter to the staff informing them of what was not going to be acceptable over the holiday season. And this included Santas or Christmas items, clip art on worksheets, Christmas trees in classrooms, Elf on the Shelf, that's Christmas related, singing Christmas carols, playing Christmas music, sending a Scholastic book that is a Christmas book, because that's Christmas related, making a Christmas ornament as a gift. This assumes that the family has a Christmas tree, which assumes they celebrate Christmas. I challenge the thought of, well, they can just hang it somewhere else. Candy cane. That's Christmas related. Historically, the shape is a J for Jesus. The red is for the blood of Christ, and the white is a symbol of his resurrection.
Again.
This would also include different colored candy canes. Red-green items, because those are traditional Christmas colors. Reindeer. Christmas videos or movies and or characters from Christmas movies. On the acceptable list, there is gifts to students, snowmen, snowwomen, snow people, snowflakes, gingerbread people, holidays around the world, sledding, hot chocolate, polar bears, penguins, scarves, boots, earmuffs, and hats, Yetis, and Olaf, the snowman from the movie Frozen.
How many people complained about that?
Enough that she's been placed on administrative leave.
What? Oh.
And the district has stepped in and rescinded the policy that she was putting into effect.
I mean, I feel like that's a little extreme.
She was trying to do the right thing. Yeah. She went too far one way.
Yeah.
I don't think administrative leave was necessary. Just the board tell her no.
Right. She's new, right?
Yeah.
You said she's new?
New principal.
Yeah, like, come on. Administrative leave. Yeah, that sounds a little extreme.
What caught the headlines was the candy canes.
Yep.
That the J is for Jesus, because most people have never heard that.
I've never heard that.
Christians have. But hardcore Christians have.
I heard that growing up a number of times.
Because I would have said it was in the shape of a shepherd's hook.
Oh, yeah.
But the J for Jesus thing never.
No.
That is a myth that a pastor came up with to try to make
candy canes
more Christian.
That's what I was going to say. Is it an urban legend?
It's more realistically, it was a case of a pastor exercising homiletical license, which is the principle that you can take something and fudge things a bit to create a sermon around. Take some liberty in it, and
doing some backflips to make it acceptable.
And he did, obviously, and it caught on. Yeah, this was going way too far.
Yeah.
Christmas is a
secular holiday.
When it became an official federal holiday, if there was any doubt, it became a secular holiday at that point. And this was absurd.
Yeah.
What's funny is the things that weren't on the list of what's not acceptable.
Jesus.
Right.
The nativity.
The actual things that are not acceptable.
Right.
It just reminds me of the South Park episode where they have to redo the whole pageant to be secular. It's just the guys in black leotards singing, happy, happy, happy. Everybody's happy.
Oh, gosh.
This got the attention of the Liberty Council, who threatened a lawsuit over it.
On what grounds?
That it was discriminating against Christianity. Now, there's a part of me that would kind of like government, schools, and a lot of businesses to let Christmas be what it really is. Something for churches, commercialism, and families.
Yeah.
And just stay the fuck out of it.
Right.
Because most of that Christmas stuff has been thoroughly ruined by fucking Macy's.
Macy's, yeah. They kind of, they rule Christmas.
The Macy's Day Parade is the official start of the Christmas season. And if you go into any Macy's, in early October, it's already fucking Christmas everywhere.
I don't go to them all, so yes.
I don't remember why we did, but I wanted to puke. They already had a Christmas section up.
Okay, I have to admit though, what they do in Chicago is balls to the walls amazing.
You mean the
window displays?
Yeah, the window display is pretty awesome.
So yeah, she went too far. Putting her on administrative leave was going too far.
Yeah, everybody went too far. Everybody's too damn sensitive. Which is funny because we're atheists and we're sensitive about everything, it seems like.
I mean, I'm sensitive all the time about everything.
And we think everybody just needs to calm the fuck down.
I know.
Especially you, Kylie. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm super sensitive, and I also want people to calm down. Probably because I'm like, your sensitivity is overloading my sensitivity right now. I don't want to deal with it.
All right, so in British Columbia, there was a atheist family whose 3-year-old was attending a Montessori school, preschool, and the dad was on the board of the Montessori school and began objecting to the holiday celebrations of the school. Now, it's a preschool. It's private. It's also Canada. Canada does not have church-state separation.
Oh.
Like we do.
Right.
And so he was objecting to holiday displays and celebrations and like everything holiday at his daughter's preschool.
Okay.
And he made enough of a stink. When he wasn't making any progress, he even started to suggest maybe have some atheist-friendly displays as a part of it. Like the one saying, like an ornament displaying the word skeptic. And another one that he suggested was the Twin Towers with a plane flying over it that says, atheists don't fly planes into buildings.
What? What the hell? That is so bad. That is like, here we go again. Calm the fuck down, dude. Like, what the hell?
He was claiming that that the rejection of that was unacceptable, that the Christmas celebrations were unacceptable because they're forcing a Christian narrative on his non-Christian family and a white narrative onto his Asian family. At the very least, his wife is Asian. Based on their names, I'm not sure if Gary Mangle. That sounds a little white.
Who knows?
Mei Yasue. That sounds kind of a little more. Yeah, not white. But so this went on, and he'd also been objecting to Saint Valentine's Day. He'd been objecting to Easter, but he kept his mouth shut when those came around.
I mean, I totally get Valentine's Day. Let's just not. Because that's a lot more commercial. Could he, do you think he could maybe take a page out of that Principles book and just be like, let's just do Yetis and snowmen and mittens and gloves?
He wanted nothing.
Well, that's just sad.
By the time he got to parent-teacher conference, which apparently they do for 3-year-olds in preschool in the Montessori system, which seems absurd to me. But anyway, parent-teacher conference. He's there and makes a big point of how he was the bigger man by keeping his mouth shut during Valentine's Day and Easter.
Can I just say that sounds like a very white man thing to do?
And wanted to know if they were going to be respecting his family by calling off Christmas. Oh, he also didn't want any nationalist displays or celebrations or commemoration, which would include Remembrance Day. One of his objections was specifically to Santa because he didn't want teachers knowingly lying to his child.
Okay, this is in Canada too, and that whole Twin Towers thing, confusing. That's not even your country, sir. What the hell? I feel like this man needs to homeschool his child then.
Preschool. You don't have to send your kid to preschool.
Right, exactly.
Montessori school is all about maximizing the understanding and knowledge and appreciation of a wide variety of cultures.
Right. I thought it's a lot about questioning, a lot about also, am I wrong in thinking it's a lot about a scientific theory of things?
Yeah, you get some of that too.
Yeah.
It's this whole system of expanding the mind in as many ways as possible, which would include talking about Santa, because that's part of the Christmas myth. And you would need to cover the nativity because that is part of the Christmas myth.
Right. So, yeah, homeschool or like not that school.
So, in response, when the school year was wrapping up, the school presented him and his wife with and I'm guessing his wife was clenching her teeth through all of this.
I'm sure.
They were presented with a contract they needed to sign to acknowledge that part of the Montessori educational program is an appreciation of foreign cultures, including their holidays, religions, celebrations, cultures. He was the only one asked to sign that.
Well, sometimes we just need a reminder, you know?
So they decided not to re-enroll his child.
Well, I commend that Montessori school and saying like that we're not going to bend over backwards for one person in this case because it's unreasonable. It's not what our school is about. This is a private school that you have deemed that you wanted your child to go to. And if you can't, I don't think that was unreasonable of them to say, hey, here's what we have. And if you don't want your child to come here, then don't put your child in there. So,
yeah. So he filed a complaint with the BC Human Rights Tribunal claiming that it was religious and ethnic discrimination.
Oh, gosh. And they took it?
The tribunal only ruled on the decision to not re-enroll the child because of her father's objections over religious discussions in the school.
Okay.
They kept it that narrow. They did not make any ruling on his complaints throughout the entire time.
Right.
And they determined that this was discriminatory, and it seemed to center on the fact that they asked him to sign paperwork that nobody else had to sign.
Well, yeah.
And that went against his sincerely held beliefs of a religious nature.
Right.
Thus, it was discriminatory. The child gets $2,000 and each parent gets $5,000. So $12,000 total.
Well, they're probably like, that was the best money spent to not have to deal with these people ever again. You know, like,
oh yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. That sucks a little bit, but now we don't have to worry about them anymore. And yeah, there's probably one of those things where it's like, all right, if we have this come up in the future, we're going to have everybody sign this. We're going to give it to everybody. I don't see there being a problem with reinstating policy and making someone look at it and sign it again.
Oh, it's really common in businesses for if you have violations of a particular policy. Most common, you'll see this with attendance policies.
Yeah.
That you are asked to re-sign the policy.
Right.
Now, it would be very rare that you'd have a policy that you only have somebody sign after they're violating it.
It happens, though.
It's kind of bizarre.
Right.
That was a poor choice on the school's part.
Right. And that's why I'm saying, like, they probably now look at that and say, like, oh, if this comes up again, everybody's going to re-sign this thing. Or it's right off the bat at the very beginning of admission. The
smart thing to have done would have been to have every family have to sign that to start that year.
Right.
Make it a new policy as a way of dealing with complaints from... They could have even acknowledged to get ahead of complaints from parents.
Oh, I guarantee you they do it now.
Yeah.
I really guarantee that they do that now. And it sounds like it wasn't a good fit. Honestly, I would be like, this does not sound like a great fit for either the school or the family. So,
yeah. Now, I do think some money was kind of justifiable because preschools and daycares tend to have very long waiting lists.
Yeah, definitely.
And it can be incredibly disruptive and expensive to a family to all of a sudden lose access to that.
Right. I wonder though, what place are you going to put your child into now?
Right, because I would assume it's the same in BC as it is here, where most preschools and daycares are in or somewhat associated with churches.
Right. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
You really screwed the pooch with this one.
Yeah, for sure. That's just number 1002 of why I'm not having a child.
Now, this tribunal did intentionally and explicitly not address his complaints to the school.
Right.
But they did address one suggestion. Twin Towers display he wanted, and they called it thinly veiled Islamophobia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, totally different country. Why are we even bringing that up in that country? Weird. Very odd.
Yeah. Gary Mangle is an asshole.
Yeah. He sounds like an entitled asshole.
It sucks that his daughter suffered because of it.
Right.
Or had any kind of disruption in her life as a result of it. But I don't fault the school for not wanting to have to deal with him.
Right.
And when it comes to private schools, a big part of it ends up being the parents and how difficult the parents are to deal with. And with any kind of a private school, including preschools, yeah, if they don't want to deal with the parents, they're not going to enroll the kid, and that's within their right.
Right.
This is also part of why I think private education should be abolished. And I think universal pre-K should be a part of the public education system. All right, so getting off of Christmas.
Oh, phew. No, I'm just joking. It was a ball.
Into the real anti-Christmas Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
They hate Christmas with a passion.
Yeah, for sure. They hate everything.
Well, apparently somebody really hates them.
What a surprise.
For the 5th time this year, a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall has been attacked in Thurston County, Washington.
Ugh.
This is the county that includes Olympia. Last week, a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall was burned to the ground.
Holy shit.
That was in Lacey, a suburb of Olympia. This is the 4th to be burned, and a 5th one this year was shot at. The ATF is involved in investigating this obvious string of attacks on a particular cult.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to necessarily agree with these religions, but then it gets to be a little extreme when you then go and start violently attacking.
Right.
Yeah. And it is a cult. Did you know that Leah Remini, there's like some A&E show that she talks a lot about Scientology, and now she's delving into other religions like Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormonism, and having people come in and say like, listen, you need to investigate these too, because they, again, her biggest thing is that they should not be tax exempt. They are cults. They are damaging people and families, and all under this thing that they're a religion and they should be tax exempt when they're just raking in a bunch of money.
Now, I would hate to see the IRS get into defining what is a religion and what is a cult, because cult, there is an academic definition of it.
Right.
Actually, there's several. There's the most basic academic definition that cult refers to any religion. A cultic practice is any religious practice. That's what you get in history and archaeology. Yeah. In sociology, you tend to get a cult as a very specific definition of a very isolating religious group. And a lot of Christian groups look like this, especially the less mainstream they are, like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
But it's a fine, fuzzy line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say Scientology is a cult. They do rip families apart, and they do a lot of hiding and a lot of re-education the state. They do a lot of that stuff.
The slave labor issues alone.
Right.
Scientology should be in serious trouble.
Right. And so, being that I was Mormon for like 2 seconds and everything, it can look cultish because their whole doctrine is like, stay around righteous people. Mm-hmm. And usually that means that you're just going to hang out with the people that you go to church with because you know that they're all on the same moral path and all this stuff. So it looks like they're very cliquish. It looks like they're cultish because of that. But I also don't want to skate. I also know that there's some weird other undertones there that I did not delve deep into. So
Mormons aren't the only cult that have decided to leave the United States.
Right.
They just took over the territory they were in and started murdering as many people as possible, as opposed to all killing themselves like what happened in Jamestown.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Jehovah's Witnesses...
we shouldn't burn stuff down.
Don't burn down churches.
Right.
Period.
Just don't do it.
It's not good.
What? Oh, the patriarchy. Burn down the patriarchy. Don't
not
burn
churches.
Down churches.
Yes. But one reason that this is so frustrating is, besides the fact that you should not be burning down churches because that is wrong, it also really sucks that the anger gets directed kind of our way when that happens.
People who don't, atheists and people who don't go to churches, and you gotta have a scapegoat. And there's always bad apples in bunches. As cliche as that sounds. I don't know. Yeah, it does suck. Because my thought is it's some white dude who are angry about something. Sorry, Dustin, you're not angry. That's the whole thing. Right. I don't mind telling you this because that's not you. But for some reason, still, as Lauren says, burn down the patriarchy, because in America, we have this real blind eye that we turn to the real problem, which are angry white men.
Now, the sheriff is trying to blame it on people who are attacking the right to worship as you see fit.
Right.
No, this is obviously somebody who hates the Jehovah's Witness church.
It could be an ex-Jehovah's Witness.
I would look at who they've disfellowshipped recently.
Right. Probably a white dude.
Actually, Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the most racially diverse religious groups.
Well, totally. But my whole thought is that it's probably someone who just got kicked out. Probably a white guy who...
Oh, yeah.
That's how the anger... But who knows? Maybe it's a lady. I shouldn't generalize.
We're talking Thurston County, Washington. Yeah, it's probably a white dude.
Yeah. And I love the fact that right now, someone is probably like, gosh, Erin really hates men. She really doesn't like dudes right now. And that's not true. I love guys, but just the right guys.
Yeah. Cardinal George Pell, he has been serving as the third most powerful person in the Vatican, in charge of the monies. And a few months back, went back to Australia to face numerous charges for fucking children and covering up for the fucking of children. He now got he went back to face trial. Mm-hmm. Actually, in a civil criminal court, the jury's verdict was unanimous. It took them 3 days. The trial's been under a gag order the entire time, but somebody leaked out the results. He's been convicted of sexually abusing 2 choir boys in the late 90s.
So what's his punishment?
That detail is not available at this time.
I was hoping it's not like that one guy that I saw recently from the church who molested some children and then got like 90 days in prison or something, or jail and then probation. I was hoping one podcast. Damn it, Dustin. One podcast where we wouldn't talk about the fact that gosh, they're so vulnerable.
This is a good one though. He's
you're
going
right.
to prison.
It's true. It's just it just makes me so upset, angry that there are fucking people out there who just can't in positions of power, and it just.
So I limited the.
You're right.
I had several stories of vulnerable people getting murdered or raped.
Right.
I picked this one because the number 3 person in the Vatican is going to fucking prison.
Good.
This is a win.
Yes, it is definitely a win. It maddens me, and sometimes I can't listen to it or hear it sometimes because it's just every fucking day you hear someone who's just awful.
Yeah.
Just doing these awful things. And in my mind, I just can't understand it. I just can't understand it. Like the way that they think, the thoughts, the predatory behavior, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
But I'm glad. That is good. You're right. Let's look at the positive here. This person's third in the church, and you're right. He hopefully is going away for the rest of his life, and also then going to get whatever he deserves while he's there.
I hope Australian prisons are more humane than American prisons, but this is somebody who needs to be removed from society.
Yeah, for sure.
Period.
For sure.
And for our final news story, Canada.
All right.
We're back to Canada.
We're going back.
Has finally repealed its blasphemy law.
Oh, they had a blasphemy law?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they did.
Interesting.
This had been on the books since 1892. The last conviction was in 1927. But there had been some, I'm guessing it'd be effectively civil suits in the 70s. But the last criminal conviction of it was 1927. And this is part of Canada's multi-year effort to update their laws. They know there's some archaic bullshit in there. Yeah. They're fixing that.
Good job, Canada. I just posted a video about some Canadian thing, and it was funny.
So, yeah, this is finally getting fixed. And even though the odds of being prosecuted on blasphemy in Canada was very low, you now just straight up can't be prosecuted on it.
Well, that's good, because there's one fucker out there who's like, I don't like Jim over there. I'm going to get him on this law.
All right. It's now time for some feedback.
Feedback!
From Josh via the website. And this was the same Josh that left us the speak pipe last week.
Ooh.
Catholicism isn't necessarily as ethnic as, let's say, Judaism. Granted, cultures invaded by Spain are predominantly Catholic, and it's probably infected their DNA at this point. Joseph Ratzinger, cosplay name Pope Benedict, declared, once a Catholic, always a Catholic, which is how my actively Catholic wife didn't get a lot of pushback when she wanted a Catholic wedding. Fun fact, Jorge Berlingio, cosplay aka Pope Francis, stated earlier this year that atheists get to go to heaven. Nice of them to finally invite us to post-mortem make-believe. Okay, I was intoxicated enough by that point in the episode that my analogy didn't quite work.
His analogies are terrible, by the way. They often are more confusing than just saying it straight up.
Yes. Okay, so
he knows this.
Judaism there is as much more of a combination of race and ethnicity and culture and religion all into a single identity. Catholicism doesn't have that, but the way you have various kinds of Latin Catholics, Latino Catholics, and the German Catholics and Irish Catholics, it almost looks more like the way it is for Jews than it does, say, a Baptist or a Lutheran. And I think part part of that does have to do with some weird historical things where if you are from certain regions in Germany, you're from the Catholic parts of Germany, not the Protestant parts of Germany. So part of your German identity is Catholic. And because of the way Protestantism split Ireland, there's a Protestant part of Ireland and there's the Catholic part of Ireland. And you can have an atheist Irish Catholic. That is weird. The analogy doesn't quite work the same, but I thought it was... I still think it's not a horrible one, but it's... Yeah, they're not the same thing.
But it's more complicated than just saying the Jewish are a special class.
Right. Yeah. From the watcher via email, and this was a lengthy one. I have edited it down a little bit and responded separately. I'm the non-binary science fantasy writer who asks about the far future of the Adventist Church since one of my antagonist characters is SDA. Between your Dustin Off the Degree segments, many of which I need to go back and re-listen to, and How to Heretics, Graveyard of the Gods, and Meet the ... segments, I have plenty of awesome religious interaction to play with for my far-flung city ship, even before I bring in the religions I made up.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
I remember this.
Regarding your intern, the vast majority of Kylie's sounds in the background go unnoticed, except when I do notice, then I smile. Every time I have to rewind and listen to a segment again, since I listen at work and get interrupted, I end up hearing different laughs or sounds than I did the time before. It's a little shot of joy.
Aww.
On the whole, I think you are right that it humanizes the show. It connects all of us just a little bit more.
Except for this episode. Oh my gosh, you would not shut up.
Yeah, we recorded an episode before and she napped through that one instead of this one.
It's because I'm here.
Regarding change, when you parted ways with your old co-host, I thought it was going to ruin the show. I feared that your new Idaho centrism would have less relevance to me living in Utah. I was wrong at the time. The only thing that kept me coming back was that promise of dedication to have non-cis hetero white voices. But on top of pulling through with that promise, 3 episodes with just Dustin and 1 or 2 episodes with Dustin and a straight white guy? Your Idaho focus, talking about your family, the story of hunting down Dustin's dad's medical records, repairs at the cabin, the Corgi event, the local comedy shows, and let us not forget Dustin Off the Degree. Epic. It all brought me closer to each of you to care more. Aw, thank you.
Super.
You're totally invited to our atheist retreat that we are going to make up.
I was going to say
more about that next week.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The inspiration for it is in next week's episode. Don't be afraid to try new things. Sometimes they will work. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you find it's just not the right time for that change and can try another time a little different. Like the interview with the technophobic anthropologist, 1985, such an odd cutoff. Bet he doesn't know that there were already an internet by then. I'm glad you put that segment at the end. I enjoyed it, but it would have been harder to sit through without already respecting his ethnographic work and preserving the stories of the Arctic murder cults. Keep up the good work, all of you, especially your hardworking intern. Keep burning down the toxic patriarchy.
Cool.
And his cutoff for when he wanted technology to stop was 1925, but because he was insisting on using 1925 technology for an interview for a podcast, I can understand how that could have been misunderstood as 1985. The quality was shit because phones are horrible. There is very little audio spectrum to work with a phone call. It was bad. But
right.
Yeah, thank you. I like trying change, and I think the diversity of voices we've gotten with this rotating panel has been fun. I know I enjoy it.
And I do hope that the focus on the Intermountain West has benefited listeners in Utah, Wyoming, Montana, that kind of region.
Right.
And the way it's really worked out has been in my... I intentionally try to look for more local stories a little bit more. It's not much of a difference in how it was before, but if there is a relevant story that is local,
right,
and that includes the rest of the Intermountain West, the more local it is, the more likely I'm to cover it. When it comes to international stuff, that's when it becomes the more obscure it is, or if it's good news, I'm going to cover it.
Yeah. Yes, more good news.
Yes.
That's just Erin Riley's take on it, please.
in this case, in our case, it's no news is good news,
right?
For the most part, but yeah.
I mean, I like some good news here and there. I also like making fun of people. So,
Yep.
Survey responses. Need to keep up on these so we don't fall behind it. Yeah, they keep coming in, and I like that. Keep on answering the survey at atheistnomads.com/survey. Okay, so survey responses on what people like the best about the show. One was, hearing from atheists who also live in Idaho is great. I feel good to be able to sympathize with people who share similar feelings about local and federal politics and toxic religious culture. I like the dusting off the degree segment the most and enjoy learning about different doctrines and church splits.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you are local, or at least in the region, you're probably going to like the local stuff.
Yeah,
That's cool.
for sure.
I also appreciate that a lot of people who aren't local like hearing about what's going on here, because most people don't cover the news in Idaho.
Maybe they wonder, maybe they're like, oh, thank
It's not
goodness.
the same thing that they've seen on Reddit 3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe they're like...
And every other podcast is covered.
Yeah, they're also like, oh, good. Idaho's worse than where I live, so phew!
Another response was, I enjoy the conversational tone, the personalities, and the baby. I also like the perspective of the show. I've actually changed my mind on an important issue because of a discussion on this show.
I wish we knew what it was. But that's just because I'm a nosy bitch and want to know.
Yeah. I know I've changed my opinion on things.
That's good.
Over the course of the show. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
We are wrapping up. Another one was, I'm always trying to improve my thinking, and this show helps.
Oh, good.
Cool. The honest attempt to be inclusive and present factual information. Baby noises, humor. I'm dry, so the getting on more humorous people has been intentional.
I'm humorous.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
Who knew 5 years ago?
Funny.
When you,
Sometimes.
Did you know this was going to happen when you first met me right after a surgery? No.
I had nothing but pity for you after I met you after freaking gallbladder surgery out for pizza. Oh my God, this poor woman. She'll never have cheese again. You proved us wrong, Erin. You proved us wrong.
I did. I was like, fuck this no gallbladder thing. I'm going to eat all the food that I want.
Same as all atheist podcasts, calling out everything theistic or just far right on their bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Burning down the patriarchy one podcast at a time. I don't know if that's really what.
Oh, whatever.
But, you know, whatever.
Close enough.
Next one, I like that both male and females offer opinions. It helps that Dustin is authoritative on the Bible, even though he does not believe he can counteract religious arguments.
Yes. It is really handy to have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about on the show. Because, oh my God.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I remember in high school, people were like, do you even read the Bible? And I'm like, I did. I had read most of it. But that was freaking almost 15 years ago. Yeah. I don't remember crap anymore. I didn't remember. We were watching the movie Year One. Yeah. Which is a biblical story. Oh. And I missed most. Well, it's a comedy. It has Jack Black and Michael Cera. Yeah. But I didn't know that Cain had a mark. Or, I mean, there's just like really basic stuff that I'm like, I don't remember that.
I never read the Bible. I mean, there was some things like, I think I read Job one time when I was going through a mental crisis and someone was like, here, you should read this.
Oh, God.
While you're having mental breakdowns, please read Job because at least you're not Job.
No, if you're going to read a book, right? There are millions of books that are better to read than the Bible. Right. Don't do it.
Literally.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
All right. So survey responses on how could the show be improved?
Oh.
We got, I would enjoy more deep dives and less interviews.
Okay.
Oh.
That's something I tried in the first 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long time ago. Maybe it's time to revisit that.
I mean, maybe
also
once in a
using
while?
the interviews as a deep dive.
Right.
Yep,
versus just.
Because I feel like maybe once in a while, I get the draw of both. Mm-hmm. But to mix it up, maybe like an episode a month, a real deep dive.
The next one up was just keep up your unique style. Greetings from Germany, by the way.
Oh,
Germany. That's cool.
We have heard from German listeners before. If you are one of them, hello again. If
Guten Tag.
You are not one of them, welcome.
I've been to Germany.
Yay. Prost.
Yay.
First-time listener, though a third voice might be handy, helps the banter. Obviously, this first-time listener was listening to the interview with Lawrence Millman. The norm is for 3 voices.
Yeah. Hence harmony.
Thank you. And it is intentional because it helps the banter.
Yeah.
Thank you, though. That was actual, good feedback.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's...
I don't know. Don't get totally wrapped up with the Idaho.
Too bad.
It's so funny. I love feedback, and I think everybody's feedback is worthwhile, but it's always interesting to get the hey, I need you to deep dive more. Hey, I love these third-party interviews. Hey, I really love how regional it is. Stop being regional.
Yeah, and this is why, content creators are bashing their heads into the wall trying to figure out who do we appease?
Right.
What sacrifices do I need to make?
If you keep listening, then it means something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike me, who doesn't listen.
Okay. Next one. Bring more people from the skeptical community on. Likely many of whom may feel averse to exploring atheist topics in generally skeptical forums.
Would that mean that you'd have more arguments?
No. An example of this would be like when we've had Jay Novella and Evan Bernstein from the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe on. They normally don't get to talk about religion.
Okay.
Their views on religion are fun.
Oh. Well, I mean, yeah.
And the final one for this week is I would like Dustin off the degree to expand into investigating other religions. I grew up Mennonite, Church of God Christ Mennonite, and would like to listen to a discussion about fundamentalist cults like that.
That is awesome. That would be great.
I have been doing more of those obscure groups. They take a lot of work.
Yeah, they do, but they're so cool.
So they aren't going to be common, but I'm going to try to continue to do more.
Right.
But they are a lot of work.
For sure.
Because all I know is that the women wear long dresses.
The other thing with some of these obscure groups is they're obscure.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to just find out about them.
Right.
So if you have one you would like me to talk about, please let me know. And Church of God in Christ, Mennonite, that's something I can Google.
Right.
So expect it coming up.
Don't they have good bread?
Mennonite bread? I don't know.
I feel like I see them at the farmer's market
sometimes. Amish friendship bread is amazing.
Oh.
So if you want to take part in the survey, it will be wrapping up in the new year. So go to atheistnomads.com/survey. And we have no new patrons, but if you would like to become one, and thanks to the survey, I know more people can afford to than do.
You guys have just been busted. We need your money. Come on. Come on. We're keeping our heads above water here.
'Tis the season, y'all.
Yes.
Cha-ching.
atheistnomads.com/donate for how to support us.
Awesome.
Erin, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yay!
Lauren, thank you for the co-hosting and wrangling and awesomeness.
Time to bake cookies.
Listeners, remember, not all those who wander are lost. And Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.